You know, I get asked all the time, what do I think is the perfect carry gun? Well, that's kind of a hard question to answer because let's face it, there is no perfect carry gun. Everyone is different, and the perfect carry gun for every person is different also. When you're figuring out the perfect carry gun for you, there's a lot of things you have to take into account. What is the largest gun that you can personally carry and feel comfortable with? Physically comfortable with the size and weight of the gun. Can you carry the gun at all times during your day? Does your day allow that? Does your job allow it? Do the places you have to go during your day allow you to carry all the time? Or is it something you've got to be able to easily take off and put back on? Is it something that's got to be easily concealable for you? Or is it something that doesn't really matter if you print? You also have to figure out what gun will you actually carry, and it's different for every person. Some people will carry the biggest gun they can possibly carry all the time. Other people will carry the smallest gun they can get away with about half of the time because it's too much trouble for them. So you have to figure out how often are you going to carry if you carry a big gun or a small gun. Now, one of the main things you have to decide when choosing your own personal carry gun, one of the main variables you have to figure out is what's the smallest gun you feel comfortable with? What's the least firepower that you think will satisfy your needs in a concealed carry weapon? And that requires you to think not only about the gun, but also about what types of threats are you most likely to face. Because those threats that you are most likely to face because of your own personal situation, that's going to determine the least gun that you should carry. And that's the kind of thing that definitely varies from person to person. I mean, it can depend on your job, your hobby, what kind of places do you frequent, do you live in a bad neighborhood, and it can definitely matter what state you live in. For example, a person who lives in Florida would definitely have different needs than a person who lives in Alaska. A person who lives in Florida, like say Miami, might say, you know, I live in an urban area that has a lot of high density areas, a lot of malls, a lot of high interest targets for terrorism, etc. I might find myself in an active shooter situation or a terrorist attack situation. So I want to be prepared for that. I want to have as much ammo as I can possibly have. Whereas a person who lives in Alaska might say, you know, I might get eaten by a bear today, so I'd like to have the most powerful handgun I can have. So that person living in Alaska, it wouldn't make any more sense for them to have a 17-round 9mm than it would for the person living in Miami to have a 5-round 454 Casull revolver. So like everyone else, I had to take these factors into account when I was choosing my own personal perfect concealed carry weapon. I had to decide what's the largest gun that I feel comfortable carrying, what's the smallest gun that I think will meet the needs I have in a concealed carry weapon, and I had to decide what threats am I most likely to face. And as a white, middle-class, boring guy who doesn't really have any dangerous hobbies, doesn't live in a dangerous neighborhood, I really had to sit down and figure out what am I most likely to face? What dangers are most likely to present themselves to me? And I decided that like most everyone else out there, the dangers that I'm most likely to face are the big three. Evil Illuminati giraffe, ninja bears, and killer robots, who might or might not also be ninjas. So taking that into account and everything else we were talking about, I decided that the perfect carry gun for me is the new Magnum Research all stainless steel 50 A&E Desert Eagle. And taking everything into account I just told you, I think you'll all agree that I made the obvious perfect choice.